Let's stop Roz and Shredder. Together.
Awesome! Dibs on the Batmobile!
Mean Green, good to go! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles! Mean Green, good to go!
Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, this is a rather unusual crossover. You wouldn't expect to see Gotham's Dark Knight and the Heroes in a Half Shell come together to fight crime, especially when they belong to two completely different entertainment entities, with Batman coming from Warner Brothers and the Turtles are found in Paramount. And yet, the DC universe is no stranger to making unexpected crossovers, where the Justice League was featured with the Power Rangers, Star Trek, the Looney Tunes, Mortal Kombat, Alien, Predator, the Nesquik Bunny, and yes, even with Marvel. But in 2016, DC and IDW released a special 6-part miniseries featuring the icons together. And it was such a big hit that it went on to have a bunch of sequels and spin-offs. And sometimes, when a DC comic becomes popular, they end up receiving their own direct-to-home media animated adaptation. Such is the case with this, where the crossover came to life in 2019. Now, before we get into this, I want to let you know that I am not familiar with the comics that this is based on whatsoever. Yes, I am very much acquainted with Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's mainly through their movies and series, which I know they can make some beautiful things with animation, such as Batman the Animated Series and Mutant Mayhem. However, I'm not much of a comic reader, nor do I follow much of DC's animated films that they periodically release on Blu-ray and DVD. So I'll be coming in pretty fresh with only the knowledge that I have of both franchises in mind, but not regarding how they are combined. So now that the Bat and the Turtles are working together in Gotham City, will this comic crossover create a cool cartoon? Or are there some things that should never mix? Let's find out. The story. Ah yes, the story of this movie. You know, there was one question that stayed in my mind while I was watching this. Is there a story in this?
I mean, like, what are they for?
I might as well start by talking about my biggest criticism with the film. Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wants to do many things, but telling a story is not really one of them. If there is some sort of a plot that can be found, it's about Ra's al Ghul and Shredder teaming up for a plan to destroy Gotham City.
Once we obtain the Cloud Cedar, Gotham's own citizens will tear their city to the ground. And the world will follow.
And because of that, the Turtles follow their arch-nemesis to Gotham and meet up with Batman. It took a bit of time for them to realize that they're on the same side, but they eventually pair up to stop their enemies and save the city.
I don't know Shredder and I don't know the Foot. Leonardo and his brothers are important assets.
As a story, this is as bare bones as it gets. This is not the type of film that explores the psychological depths of either Batman or the Turtles, nor does it want to convey a message for the characters and the viewer to learn from the experience. At the most, the purpose of the story is to drive the film from one action scene or a crossover moment to the next. If you take away the familiar IPs, this is just a bland superhero tale of stopping the bad guys to save the day.
I'm realizing you don't actually want constructive criticism right now.
Then again, as much as I may criticize the movie for it, I don't think people watch this for the plot. If anything, the title perfectly summarizes the point of the picture, and that is to see Batman with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And did this at least deliver on that? Absolutely! To switch things up and give it credit, the best thing about this picture is that it made the most out of combining the two entities together, both in terms of how the leads can work together and what happens when you bring the ooze to Gotham so that the villains find a new way to level up. If anything, it succeeds at being a crossover to present the dynamic of both the characters and its concepts, and how they're able to collaborate together to show the similarities that these two franchises have, which is animal-themed heroes fighting against some colorful villains in spectacular ways. Another Another thing that I do appreciate from this is how it doesn't really take itself seriously. In a way, it's kind of self-aware of its own strangeness, and that the Ninja Turtles do stick out a bit too much from its Gotham City environment. That's why part of this is a comedy, mostly provided by the Turtles, especially Mikey, where they often joke around and poke fun of elements from both the Batman world and themselves. I won't say that this is the funniest movie from either IPs, but they are enjoyable enough to make the experience amusing, and it does give the feature some well-needed cheesiness to make it easier to get on board for the ride and buy in the idea of how Batman and the Ninja Turtles can be part of the same universe.
So he wears a Dracula costume and punches clowns. Who cares? The dirtbag stole my side.
Dracula costume? What kind of Dracula movies are you watching?
I'll admit that I don't really have a lot else to say here because there technically isn't a plot. It's just a series of sequences that present what happens when you combine two popular comic franchises. But in its own way, it kind of works. It makes the most out of the concepts and makes it engaging with all of its creative ideas for the action, along with a nice sense of humor to have a little fun along the way. It may not have a story, but this is not the kind of movie that needs it. The animation. As extravagant as this crossover sounds, I don't think I could say the same about the film's animation. I'm not saying that it looks terrible, but it's important to note that this is one of those DC direct-to-home media animated movies. As ambitious as they may be with their concepts, they don't have enough of the resources to pull them off in an awe-inspiring way like those released on the big screen. That wouldn't be too much of an issue, but the limitations in this case is responsible for holding the movie back from showing more of its potential. One example of this is the movie's overall style. Yes, it is good at blending elements of Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's not as strong with whatever it wants to mix visually. It's like it tries to combine the designs of the comics that the film is based on with the aesthetics of Batman the Animated Series. Sure, in itself, it does look okay, and did recapture some of the elements from the series, like the Art Deco backgrounds and the use of colors and lighting, but I can't help but feel like it artistically wants to adapt that look from the comics, but has to resort to simplifying the designs and recycle cost-saving tactics from the show because the budget wouldn't allow the team to go further with their vision.
They're going to regret stepping foot in Gotham.
I can even say the same thing about the Turtles themselves. It's like if they took the 2003 version and update them so that they look more different from each other than just the color of their masks. Again, they're fine as is, but there could have been more of a push to make them look better. If they wanted to make each of the Turtles look unique from each other, I think they should have gone all out like they did with Rise and Mutant Mayhem. This looks like there was an attempt, but then it stopped halfway through where their differences now look weird, like how Donnie is a stretched out version of his brothers, and this Raph looks like he fits better in the Homestar Runner universe.
We'd be better off on our own. No, he ain't right!
But again, this is not to see the craftsmanship of the animation. This is to watch the action of the comics come to life. And even with its limitations, it is able to deliver a whole lot of crime fighting. Yes, there can be times, even then, when it shows that it also had to cut corners due to its low budget and weaken a bit of the experience. Let's say that it's one of those films that think going in slow motion means using less frames. And yet, not even its own setbacks could break the flow of the battles. The best thing about the animation is that it is able to do enough to make the action scenes engaging and exciting. They provide a fast pace to keep the viewer's attention to not want to miss any moment of them. The choreography and the cinematography capture each shot to highlight the characters' fighting styles, and it does not hold back on the brutality. Seriously, there are times when it could get unapologetically violent to show how they hold nothing back from the characters wanting to straight up kill one another.
I said stop!
But again, it's the mixture of the two IPs that makes the action stand out. It's not just seeing Batman and the Turtles doing their usual thing, but it's how the two entities blend with using their own fighting styles against one another with the Turtles' traditional martial arts and Batman's gadget-enhanced combat. And when the Ooze comes into play in Gotham, that's when the creativity flourishes, where they also have to fight off against mutants, especially when the villains of Arkham Asylum use it to transform themselves. Safe to say that this is not the best animation from either franchises. The work that was put in is decent in itself, but it shows that there is still more room for improvement. But when it's time to take action, that's when its crossover component helped to boost its creativity and make it more interesting to watch to see what it will do with the combination. The animation is what you'd expect from a home media release, but there was effort to have it be above its own average. The characters. I think it's important to note about the ratio of how much Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you get here. While I don't have the exact number, but if I may guess, I say this is 70% Batman and 30% Ninja Turtles. There is more Batman here, as he provides his sidekicks, his location, and his roster of all-star villains, while the Turtles brought in only some of their elements like Shredder, his Foot Clan, Baxter Stockman, and the Ooze.
But this ooze is really shaking things up.
There's obviously more of one than the other, but it is still enough for the combination to be prominent and make the most out of its concepts of having the two come together to fight crime. With that said, as much as this features many familiar faces, this really is a case of quantity over quality. Again, this is a movie that prioritizes its own gimmick over telling a story, so it's no surprise that the cast doesn't have much depth to them. At the most, they're just the basic versions of the characters that we know about them. On Batman's side, you got Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, who is dark and brooding and takes his job very seriously. Robin is the tough sidekick. Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, is the other sidekick with more tech smarts. Alfred is the butler who has to put up with what the team is up to in the Batcave. And his villains include Ra's al Ghul as the main one who wants to destroy Gotham City, while the rest is meant to show off their mutant forms, led by the chaos-loving Joker.
I made a deal with old Knifey Hat and Demon Head. They gave me some of their wonderful ooze to play with.
On the Turtle side, you got Leonardo as the responsible leader, Raphael as the hot-headed fighter who doesn't wait to get into the action, Donatello is the tech nerd, and Michelangelo is the goofball comic relief. While Shredder is the martial arts-themed villain of the film alongside his army of the Foot Clan, and Baxter Stockman reluctantly helps to build their machine meant to take down Gotham.
Don't feel too bad. I've been with the Foot for years and I've never been paid. Which I guess is a mark in the hostage column.
There's nothing that you'll learn about who they are other than what you already know. They're not meant to supply their character development, but rather their skills when it's time to fight. In that case, they serve their purpose well, showing off their abilities during the action while also presenting some new tricks thanks to the combination. You want to see Batman improve his combat skills? You want to see the villains become mutants? You want to see the Turtles make the most out of the Bat gadgets? Then they will do exactly that, and you won't be left disappointed. But I will admit that maybe some do a little bit more than just present their moves. At the most, I'd say that the Turtles provide a little extra to this movie with their comedy. Sure, the other characters like the Joker help add some humor, but it's mainly the four teenagers who make this take itself less seriously, as it's not afraid to satirize itself and be aware of its own ridiculous concepts so that it can have fun as the movie progresses. That, and it also includes the familiar dynamic of the brothers, as each have their own personalities, but what makes them iconic is how they are together. And it's nice to see that the movie still holds on to that in order to deliver the Turtles that we all know and love.
Are you crazy? You could have killed them.
They're fine.
Did you know there was a dumpster there?
I might have. Yeah?
Because the movie doesn't do anything new with the personalities, these are not the most memorable versions of the characters. At the most, the feature sticks to their basic template and let them run loose. However, for the kind of film that this is, they did serve their purpose to present how they fight, show off their own spin on the crossover element, and throw in some gags to lighten the mood. The characters technically did their job, so I can't get mad at them. You want Batman? You want the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Well then this movie gives you exactly that. Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a straightforward popcorn flick that gives you one thing, and that's the two popular franchises coming together to fight crime. As a feature, it does the bare minimum to count as a movie in the first place with its basic story, one-dimensional characters, and animation whose limitations noticeably hold it back. But what it lacks in all that does make up for it by making the most out of its own concept with how it can be creative with the crossover, have a lot of engaging action, and add some comedy to make the experience fun to watch. Would I recommend you to check this out? Well, it honestly depends. First, you have to at least like both IPs. If you're not into either of them, even if you like one but not the other, then this might not do much for you. Also, you have to be in the right mindset when you're in the mood for a bunch of action instead of an actual movie with a story to tell. I know that sounds like a lot of requirements to possibly enjoy a movie, but I think as long as you like the two franchises and you're cool with more action and less story, then you'll be able to make the most out of your time with this film. And if you made the most out of your time with this review, then hit that like button and come subscribe to my channel. You could join me in finding more animated features with ideas that are as crazy as this combo. Keep in mind that I won't be giving this a high score as a film, but that's because this is not a movie that's meant to be reviewed. This is a movie that is meant to show off a cool crossover with a lot of action. It knows what it wants to be and does exactly that. Nothing more. Hey guys, this is Animat, and I want to start things off by giving out a huge thanks to Russell Ray Young for his amazing support on Patreon, which allowed him to get some amazing rewards, including this one, where he got to ask me to review Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I gotta say, yes, I know that I gave it a lower score than something that I would genuinely really enjoy. You know, a 6 out of 10 doesn't really sound that impressive. But in a way, I just gotta say, for a movie that I did give a 6 out of 10, I honestly respect it and I honestly enjoyed it quite a bit. Because the big thing with it is that, like I said, this is not meant to be analyzed. It is not meant to be viewed with a cinematic eye in the same way that you would want to watch Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and Mutant Mayhem. This is the kind of movie that is meant to be enjoyed for its novelty. It's the fact that you want to see Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight crime and kick butt. That's the main reason of its existence, and that's the main reason why you would want to go and watch this movie. Nothing else. And I know that the criteria of wanting to enjoy this movie does sound pretty specific. Like, you gotta like Batman, you gotta like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you gotta want to enjoy a novelty movie that's not meant to be like, to watch it like a movie, but, you know, to watch like the gimmick of it all. Like, as long as you meet all those, then there is a way that you could watch it and have a good time, which honestly, I did actually. So overall, this is to say that as a movie, sure, it's not really that good, and that is kind of to be expected with those DC direct-to-home media animated movies, But this one is definitely fun in its own right. It knows what it wants to do, and it pretty much did exactly that. And that's why, honestly, I actually do respect it. Alright, so with that said, now that we are officially done with Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it is now time that we shall go and move on to the animation hat. And by the way, before I go and pick the next review, I would just like to go and say that if you would like to be like Russell and you want to go and support my work and get so many great rewards, including but not limited to seeing my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. But at the same time, if you would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and that I would put onto the animation hat, then just write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. All right, so let's see what we would have next here. Just make sure I can... Oh, there we go. Okay, so I picked it. Yay. All right, so the next review shall be... Let's see now. Whoop, okay. Oh, I got the paper. What the... Okay. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, I can get down with this. Right, all right. So, I will say, the movie that I picked here, quite a significant one. Honestly, one that I have definitely seen, but one that I'm definitely down to go and analyze. Because even though this is a newer movie, this is one that tells a classic tale that is centuries years old. So with that said, I am pretty much ready to go and take a look at the final feature made by animation legend Isao Takahata.
Any last words?
Cowabunga.